reorienting your mind, changing your thinking about work. People have an aversion to work. They have an aversion to effort. And so unless they're forced to do something, they just won't do it. So we're able to get by in life because we're forced to do something. We know we have to earn a paycheck, and when we get to work, we've got managers or bosses that keep us somewhat in line. Even then, still, we try to get away with the least amount of effort, even in that situation. So we certainly don't get involved in too much after work or outside of work in order to create something better for ourselves. And again, the culprit here is laziness, the aversion to work, to do things half-assed, to do things partially, to not complete projects, etc. So if we're going to change that, we have to change our idea of work. And that means we've got to create, as I said in the last episode, small things that we can do daily until we get a taste of achievement, till we acquire a taste of work. And you do that by getting small results every day. So your mind gets used to that. Get used to getting the pleasure that comes from seeing a small thing accomplished. So that's what you want to do. But then you have to start to go to war against the things that are going to war against you. One of the big things that hinders us is our consumption of media. Consumption of media. Now, for the most part, those who are challenged with laziness, their big bondage is to media consumption that is entertaining. In other words, entertainment is a handicap for them. Entertainment is something they have almost an addiction to. And it can be even things like cable news, where you're just so consumed with politics, for example, that you can spend all your evenings watching cable news networks. Same thing. It's still a form of entertainment. But the important thing to understand is that media consumption is the primary culprit. But the reason why it's a culprit is because it's entertainment-based. So if you're going to begin to wean yourself off of that, then my suggestion is don't try to just cut it off. If you can do that, fine. I find most people can't. They end up going back to it. So what I find is better is to replace it. It's better to replace your consumption of media with other forms of media. Media that will inspire you, media that will teach you, media that will motivate you, these sorts of things. So if you spend your night, for example, watching cable news network, then maybe you might spend the evening, watching things in relation to something you have a desire for, right? It could be something in health. It could be something in fitness. It could be something about, if you have an interest in earning more money, you could do something there. You could do something with a particular trade or things you want to learn. Anything that you can do that inspires you. I get in these weird things sometimes where I have these just funny little interests. Like lately, I've been interested in these people who like to live off the grid. And so they'll build these little places or convert these vans and things into these little homes. Now, this is not RV. This is really, really reduced, very simple, very minimalist. But the desire is to be off the grid. So they're putting things together to like using, for example, a compost toilet as opposed to one in an RV that has a tank. Meaning they want to be completely off the grid, so they need to be able to dispose of things like waste and water and what have you if they're 2 weeks out in the wilderness where there is no campground around. There is no hookups around. They have solar panels and, how they deal with moisture, how they deal with, air conditioning or heating or whatever. It's very interesting to me. I don't know why. I just get on these little things and I just start consuming things about that. Now, am I planning on doing anything off the grid? Hell no. I don't have any desire whatsoever. I'm interested in the fact that they do have that desire, and I'm interested in the fact that they're willing to do the work necessary to create that. Now, they want to be able to do other things. They don't do this so that they can stay in the van. They do this so that they can live outside the van. So they're just saying, you know what, having a house or whatever, an apartment with high rent and doing all the things necessary to maintain that and not being able to go out and live and explore and see things, to them, that's a trade-off. So now they're going to focus on just living their life, which means they don't need as much money, so they're not doing as much work. That's not a part of my life. I'm all about empire, so can't build an empire with a van. But I admire them for what they do. And so I just get on these little binges where I'm just very interested in things like that. And that leads me to other things. And so for me, that would be more my media consumption other than, channel surfing or something like that. But what it does is it stimulates see, here it is, it's coming out in this video, right? But it stimulates my mind to think about things. It's causing me to rethink about, how I want to approach maybe my own home or where I move or what I do or what have you, right? It does affect me. So I'm not saying we need to work 24/7. I'm just saying that if you're going to have some downtime, then do things that are interesting, do things that stimulate thought, do things that, get you intrigued or provoke your curiosity or lead you to something else. Back in the days before internet and YouTube, I would be led to other things through bibliographies or through footnotes. I'd be reading books and there's footnotes and things. Well, I was like, I need to check that book out. And so I would follow these rabbit trails and discover other authors, other writings. And it was interesting. And that's how I grew as a thinker. Same thing now with YouTube, is I can watch something like these people who are off the grid, and that may lead to something else, right? And I discover these other things because YouTube is tracking my behavior. And so it will give me then all these suggested videos of other things I can watch. That's a better use of media consumption than spending all of your time watching Netflix and regular TV and cable news and all of these things that tend to things you're like, okay, I enjoyed that, but then you're looking for something else to binge watch and you watch that and you realize, man, you're not really living. You're not really growing. You're not really, you feel like it's more wasted time. So the best way to deal with that is to first wean yourself off of it by changing the things that you consume, things that stimulate curiosity, interest, feed your passion, help you get down the road, because if you do that, you do feed your passions, and that's typically going to lead to action, and action is an antidote to laziness. Can you dig it? I hope you can.